Hey, what is poppin', everyone? So today we'll be answering the question of how diverse is corporate America? And today I'll be answering the question of diversity in terms of the sectors that are in corporate America. And just for everyone to know, corporate America means the business side of America. So that means a lot of for-profit corporations and even non-profit corporations. We call that corporations. We call corporations in the US corporate America. So corporate America has many aspects, right? We have tech companies, we have finance companies, all kinds of companies. We have non-profit organizations. We have insurance, we have oil and gas industry. And so diversity in corporate America definitely exists in terms of these sectors. There's so many sectors, and new sectors just keep coming up every day. And a lot of that is because the US has a good structure around innovation in the sense that, of course, this all depends on state, but the US is really good at allowing people to have new ideas and then following through with those ideas without much penalty. And the US also protects a lot of people's ideas from being stolen via patents. So the US does a really good job at allowing new businesses to come up and take hold. But for those that are existing, the US is also really good at managing them and making sure that these businesses don't destroy the economy, which is a little bit corrupt because the US, there's an idea called too big to fail in the US, and that means if a company becomes too big, if it fails, then that failure will destroy the economy. So what the US government will do is subsidize or make some deal with those companies such that they don't fail. And one example is AIG. So you can look into that later. But basically, the US in general does a good job at regulating companies. And that might be true for a lot of the traditional companies. But for new tech companies, the current laws we have aren't really fit for managing them. There's holes in our laws, and the law really needs to be improvised and evolved to match the speed of innovation, which we can't because a lot of the regulators and people in the government are set on their traditional way of thinking, and I think the whole system in the US is just the whole governmental system in the US is too slow to match the pace that the tech sector is evolving in. So for corporate America, for tech, it's very different than, the finance side of America, the traditional corporate America. And it's not just regulations. These tech companies, the culture is very different. It tends to be a more collaborative, more open-minded, sometimes more relaxed, more modern atmosphere. Whereas the finance and insurance corporations tend to have a more cutthroat, a more competitive, more fast-paced, more unforgiving type of culture. So really, some people think of it as East Coast versus West Coast, right? East Coast being the finance side of the US and West Coast being the technology and innovation side of the US. And in my mind, that's how corporate America is split between East and West, split between traditional and new companies. Another way to split corporate America is profit versus non-profit. So in the US, profit companies operate in a similar way to profit companies overseas, but non-profit companies in the US, they still make money, they still make income, and they still have employees. And a lot of the huge ones, such as the Bill Gates Foundation, has a very nicely laid out structure, has a nice organizational structure. But the main difference is that non-profit organizations can't invest the extra income that they have into, let's say, stocks or into something that benefits the owners of the company and not the company itself. And to me, that's really respectable. That's awesome. That means people are willing to step down more from their private benefits and do something to help the public. And that's really amazing. So corporate America to me is not a bad thing. If anything, it's very diverse, it's very complex. Calling corporate America, calling business in and of itself evil is it's a really naive way of thinking. But yeah, so thank you all for tuning in to today's episode, and I will see y'all next time.